Far from any signs of an end to the military standoff between India and China, or that tensions between the two will ease, China's mood towards India is hardening. There are indications that China sees the current confrontation as the beginning of a period of sustained, protracted pressure on India. And the military confrontation in the Himalayas is likely to escalate, with a high possibility of clashes may occur by the beginning of spring season this year. These could include sharp, swift military actions. Meanwhile, China stepped up domestic publicity campaign of its narrative on the military standoff in Ladakh. China's official media describes China's actions in Ladakh as a counteroffensive provoked by India's aggressive forward policy and is infringing on Chinese sovereignty. Recent two articles by Hu Shisheng, director of the Institute for South Asian Studies at the China Institutes of Contemporary International Relations, describe how China view of India. He is expert on South Asian affairs, especially India and Pakistan. Hu Shisheng's co-authored article, titled "The Behavioral Logic Behind India's Tough Foreign Policy Toward China." In the article, Hu Shisheng was categoric that the conflict was not incidental, but the inevitable result of the high-risk, high-yield policy followed by the Modi administration. He attributed this policy to a desire to seek revenge, prompted by India's long-term pursuit of absolute security and dominance in the regional order, and the Modi government's ambition to overtake China by taking advantages of India's favorable external strategic environment. The article was published in Mandarin as well as in English. The intention is obviously to ensure wider publicity for China's views of its relations with India and the problems in the relationship. Hu Shisheng said, India's international environment has generally improved since Prime Minister Modi came to power. He assessed that India's geo-value has risen to its highest since independence because of the demands of the US and the West to contain China, particularly in the context of intensifying China-US confrontation. This has given the Modi administration more courage and confidence to be tough on China. Hu Shisheng projected a pessimistic view for China-India relation, explaining that Indian conservatives already held deep strategic mistrust and apprehension about China due to the structural problems existing between the two countries. He described the RSS as a conservative, right-wing, hardline political organization opposed to foreign investment, pointing out that important leaders in the government and the majority of those in the BJP came from an RSS background. He stated that India's political orientation was steadily shifting. He said Modi had additionally tried to downplay popular opposition by being increasingly tough on China and building his image as a leader tough on security issues. He described the conflict at the Galwan Valley as anything but the end. Hu Shisheng said, the contest over the border is highly and likely to move from reconciliation through dialogues to a new stage featuring contention for control with real power. And this will inevitably give rise to border standoffs and clashes. Shisheng anticipated that in course of time the bottom line of tolerance will become a red line lying between the border troops of both countries. He said, today, the Indian military has basically controlled most of the commanding heights along the eastern and middle section of the China-India border. He shifted the blame on India by saying, since Modi came into power, India's border troops have focused on promoting the forward policy along the western section of the China-India border. The incidence of border confrontations has consequently increased in the western section. When China responded strongly, border confrontations and even clashes occurred. This, he said, is why China and India have always been caught in yearly vicious cycles of starting high and ending low since Modi assumed power in 2014. The article stated that India's multilateral diplomacy has become more pro-West and xenophobic, and that India had abandoned a balanced approach.